The sailors rose early this morning for what was supposed to be a charged day of racing. 2 import matches and a departure for the third leg restart from Dieppe to Deauville tonight at 7:30. But when the sailors arrived to their boats, the lack of wind was apparent. On the dock, the atmosphere was rather light as well. Boat captains tinkered with their rigs as sailors relaxed with the morning paper. When the fleet reached the course, race committee announced a postponement due to lack of wind. The sailors kept their sails furled and took advantage of the calm, oily sea, enjoying a stretch, discussing tactics, and sighting a pod of dolphins. The wind never peaked above 5 knots, so race committee canceled both import races and sent the fleet back home. This afternoon, the crews took the opportunity to rest, except for the sailors aboard Courrier Dunkerque, who couldn't resist the shoreside activities in Dieppe's village. Delay day will help fuel sailors for a slow night along the coast of Normandy. The race starts at 9 tonight. This 79 nautical mile leg is scored by a coefficient of 3. The fleet arrives in Deauville tomorrow, Sunday morning. The sad reality of sailboat racing is that some days, the wind never shows up. Maybe there wasn't any wind, but at least some dolphins showed up to play with the M34s. At least they had that going for them. After sunset, race committee postponed the start to 5 a.m. the next morning off the coast of Le Havre. The fleet fired up their engines and motored for 8 hours along the coast of Normandy. They started at 6:20 this morning in light conditions. As soon as they crossed the start, spinnakers were hoisted and crews donned their game faces. Light air racing requires expert balance, precise boat handling, and extreme focus. It was a short race, only 20 nautical miles. Groupama led for most of the leg, with Courrier Dunkerque and Britain Crédit Mutuel close behind, sick and tired of Frank Cammas' string of horizon jobs. The 2 yachts overtook Groupama in the final stretch. Britain Crédit Mutuel Elite captured a first-place finish. Courrier Dunkerque took second. Groupama swallowed third. But the best story of the leg belongs to the boys on amateur entry Normandy. With an average age of 21, they arrived 4th to their home region, right behind Groupama. Groupama 34 still lead the overall event, but finally, things are starting to heat up as the fleet continues south. In Deauville, the Tour de France Le Voile met the silver screen today. In front of the famous boards, a French Hollywood walk of sorts, colorful umbrellas, and hot beach sand, the fleet raced offshore, the main attraction all day long. It was a living movie set of sorts. It was a beautiful day for the fleet to race just off the beach in Deauville. 10 to 15 knots of fresh breeze and not a cloud in the sky. The points went to Sodebo, who won the only scored import race of the morning. Coville and Cammas raced right alongside each other, but Sodebo, a rather irregular actor so far along the tour, proved their star power. Groupama finished second, Britain Crédit Mutuel Elite finished third. Oman Sail are in fourth, and the youngsters on TPM finished in fifth. Courrier Dunkerque finished in sixth. This is the 6th year the Tour de France Le Voile has visited Deauville. Tomorrow the fleet sails the longest leg in the history of the race, 245 nautical miles to Brest on the westernmost region of France. Goodbye Normandy, hello Brittany. The 12 teams of the 2013 Tour de France Le Voile left Deauville late Tuesday morning on a coefficient 5 offshore leg. The fleet sails 250 nautical miles to Brest, the longest leg in the history of the Tour de France Le Voile, along some of France's most stunning coastline. The start of the race took place in heavy conditions with a good swell. A stiff downwind breeze prevailed and the fleet made good use of their spinnakers. On the sail to Brest, the fleet will have plenty of navigational hazards to safely manage. On the sail to Brest, the fleet will have plenty of navigational hazards to safely manage, especially around the Cotentin Peninsula. There are the extreme currents at the Ras Blanchard and the Channel Islands along the coast of Brittany. At the top of the rankings, Groupama and Sodebo have proved their worth, but Courrier Dunkerque, Oman Sail, and Britain Crédit Mutuel Elite have promised to put up a good fight. It's a long sail to Brest and anything can happen. The fleet arrives in Brest Wednesday afternoon. At 245 nautical miles, the fourth offshore leg from Deauville to Brest was the longest in Tour de France on Voile history. The fleet fought intensely, racing downwind under spinnakers in 10 to 15 knots of breeze. The race was a picture-perfect tour of the northern coast of Brittany. The M34 sailed past Barfleur and the Cap de la Hague. They battled extreme currents at Ras Blanchard and navigated through the Channel Islands, the Flore Channel, and into the Bay of Brest. Thomas Coville's Sodebo was one of the boats that opted for an offshore route after dark, and they were rewarded with enough breeze to push them to the front of the fleet. Britain Crédit Mutuel Elite and Courrier Dunkerque followed Coville's tactic, and as the sun rose, the three boats were clear ahead of Franck Cammas and the rest of the fleet. Both Tours de France crossed paths on this leg. The cyclists on the Tour de France finished in Saint-Malo before starting the next morning at Mont Saint-Michel as the fleet surfed west just off the northern coast of Brittany. There are 6 stops to Marseille and plenty of points to be won and lost. So place your bets in Brest. The dice are finally back on the table.